Well, for me, my story, it wasn't a free story.
Okay.
A lot of the things that I ended up deciding to be involved in or stay in is because, I mean, to make a long story short, I had been brainwashed.
Okay.
Number one, I was raised in a very religious family.
Mm.
My mom's parents were ministers and missionaries and pastors, and they were very strict with the holiness belief. And so getting divorced and things like that was not common in my
Okay.
family. Being in a relationship where you are being intimate with someone outside of marriage was unacceptable
Yeah.
in my family. So when you're immature and you're thinking, well, I'm having these hormones that I'm dealing with, I'm having these desires, but I can't explore any of them because it's demonic or it's
Yeah.
wrong or shame on me, something must be wrong with me, and you start feeling more shame instead of lifting yourself to what you believe is right and wrong, because you don't have that foundation. The only foundation you have is the foundation that your family has given you. And so when you're not able to meet that mark, you start to feel even more more lower self-esteem, because it's like, dang, I really want to make my family proud. I don't want to disappoint my family, but I got pregnant at 16.
Got you.
And so my family actually emancipated me, and I was married off by 17.
Wow. It's your girl DJ with Plan for Keeps podcast, and today I have a special guest. Danelle Wright is a dedicated and multifaceted author and the founder of Uvelopment LLC, a community-focused organization dedicated to making a difference. As an esteemed author, speaker, and talk show host, Danielle's mission goes beyond entertainment or personal success. She envisions a world where domestic violence, human trafficking, homelessness, and personal development are addressed head on. Danielle's remarkable journey, filled with personal triumphs over abuse, single parenthood, and poverty, fuels her passion to inspire others. Through her powerful book, The House Without Doors, she shares her experiences to uplift those who may be struggling, offering a beacon of hope and transformation. Author Danelle Wright is serving as a coach, podcast host on Concrete Reality TV, and social media influencer. In her own words, my journey is to show the underdog that there's a seat even for you at the head table by sharing with you how I turned my abuse into a bestseller. Today, she is here to speak on the topics dating, love, abuse, fatherlessness, childhood trauma, and how it can affect choices while dating or in a relationship. How are you today?
How amazing.
Danielle?
That was a mouthful, wasn't it?
Oh my God, you're doing a good job. That's all that
You're
matters.
doing an amazing
Okay,
job.
good. Oh my
That
gosh.
just means I'm busy.
Yeah, and doing it.
Yes, I am trying my best. I'm trying my best. Like, I'm honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. It's been a busy week, but I was looking forward to getting here.
Likewise, like I said, I know you are super busy, just as we read on the forum. I know you also, were you nominated for LA Weekly?
No, I was featured in the LA Weekly article, the most recent LA Weekly article titled Authors on the Rise. And they featured 15 authors to keep your eye out on for this 2023 year. And I was one of the 15 that they featured in that article. Check it out.
I know they had to be very exciting.
It was very, very exciting. It was really hard to keep it under wraps, too. While I knew that the article was coming out, I had to wait until they actually published the article before I could share it. So it was exciting.
Oh my God, congratulations. And we're going to dig more into your book, The House Without Doors.
Okay.
But before we dig into that, I want to learn more about you. What's put you in a mind frame to want to serve in all of the capacities that you are serving?
Wow. So this is kind of transitioning into my book, because my book was my inspiration. My book is a memoir about my life, which basically tells what I was inspired by, how my life journey has come along this way. I was inspired because I had a hard life and I had a hard childhood. And growing up, my father was killed very early in a car accident. He and my mother were high school sweethearts. So before I turned 2 years old, my brother was going on 4 years old. Our father was killed in a car accident. And so growing up fatherless is something that I feel like rarely gets talked about.
Yeah.
I feel like we often spend a lot of attention on single mothers and things like that, but people don't really realize that a lot of the single mother issues are because the boys and the girls are growing up without that male role model in the home. So all the struggles that I went through growing up fatherless and looking for that perfect family, that perfect mate, that perfect partner, all the things that I thought my life would be had I had my father in the home, kind of led me through this journey that just kind of took me through some woes. And I was like, whoa. But I want to help others that are battling with low self-esteem, teen pregnancy, just not finding their way out of a broken-hearted relationship and things like that. I kind of want to help them to by hearing my journey and seeing like, listen, if you hear all the things that I've gone through and you see where I am today, there's no excuse why you can't pull yourself up as well.
Got you. Okay. So you, like you said, you grew up in a fatherless home. How did that transition or translate for you, like getting into relationships, puberty, all of that stuff?
Yeah. So basically, I was looking for love.
Yeah.
Like most people are, but it's different when you don't have an example of love from a man in a woman's life. Growing up as a child, you don't have that security. You don't have that reassurance. You don't have that father figure. And a lot of times we are just looking for a father figure when we start dating.
Yeah.
We just looking for the person that reminds us of our dad. And if you're missing one, you're looking for the person that you fantasize their father to be like, had he been there. And so I had fantasized that my dad would have been this and that, because when you don't have them, you don't think negative thoughts unless someone puts those negative thoughts into your head.
Yeah.
If you have the freedom to just fantasize, we're going to dream of a fairy tale.
Yeah.
If my dad was here, life would be like this, we would have this and all this and that. So when I grow up, that's what I'm going to get. And I wanted to pursue men that fulfilled that fantasy for me. But it was an unrealistic fantasy I grew to learn.
Got you. So do you think you chased that fantasy, you chased your imagination, just and didn't pay attention to the little crevices that probably, like a man, like the red flags a man would have, even though maybe they provided some aspects of the imagination? Like, what made you stay with certain relationships that probably were hard?
Well, for me, my story, it wasn't a free story.
Okay.
A lot of the things that I ended up deciding to be involved in or stay in is because, I mean, to make a long story short, I had been brainwashed.
Okay.
You know, number one, I was raised in a very religious family. My mom's parents were ministers and missionaries and pastors, and they were very strict with the holiness belief. And so getting divorced and things like that was not common in my family. Being in a relationship where you are being intimate with someone outside of marriage was unacceptable in my family. So when you're immature and you're thinking, well, you know, I'm having these hormones that I'm dealing with, I'm having these desires, but I can't explore any of them because it's demonic or it's wrong or shame on me, something must be wrong with me, you know, and you start feeling more shame instead of lifting yourself to what you believe is right and wrong, because you don't have that foundation. The only foundation you have is the foundation that your family is giving you. And so when you're not able to meet that mark, you start to feel even more lower self-esteem, because it's like, dang, you know, I really want to make my family proud. I don't want to disappoint my family, but I got pregnant at 16.
Got you.
And so my family actually emancipated me, and I was married off by 17.
Wow.
So with that being my reality, I ended that relationship. Of course, by 18, we weren't together anymore, but we had a 1-year-old son. But when I got into my next relationship is where the test really came, because, you know, people can forgive you for one failed relationship. But when I got in my next relationship, I wanted the opposite of what my first one was. And I got that. I went from the pot to the frying pan. Oh, wow. And so I ended up getting into a physically abusive relationship.
Wow.
And I was stuck in that relationship for 7 years.
Wow.
And I was embarrassed. I was ashamed to leave the relationship. I felt like, people would be like, you just in another failed marriage. Look how young you are, this
Yeah.
and that. So I tried to put on my good girl persona and just be like, I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna do everything that my family said would work. I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
church. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna be faithful. I'm gonna do all this, and God's gonna answer my prayers. Well, He didn't answer my prayers that way. He answered my prayers, but He didn't answer my prayers that way.
Right.
See, a lot of times we want to put God in a box and we want to say, Lord, answer this prayer for me the way I want it to be answered. But sometimes a closed door is an answer.
Yeah.
And we don't really realize how to accept that because we feel like if God didn't tell us yes, then He must not be listening. And as a parent, I don't always tell my children yes, but I heard them.
Yeah.
I want what's best for them. And sometimes what they're asking for is not what's best for them. And so it got to a point in the relationship where it got so bad. And I'll let you guys read the book for the details. It's all in there. But it got so bad that I couldn't sleep. I was just taking medication, just trying to go to sleep, almost overdosed because I couldn't sleep. And I thought, well, there's no way in the world the levels could be high because I'm not even sleepy yet. And that's how stressed and depressed I was. And I got on my knees one day and I was just crying and I'm begging God, like, why would you let him do me like this? Why? And He said, you asked me to get you out of this situation. You prayed and you said, God, deliver me. And He said, I kept giving you examples and reasons and all these opportunities to walk away, but you kept taking him back.
Yeah.
I had to allow things to get so torn up that you couldn't go back. I had to allow him to do so much to you that there was no way you would go back. Because God isn't going to force us.
Yeah.
He's going to show us, but we have to accept it. And so it got to a point where once I prayed and I could hear that message so clearly to me, I was done.
Wow.
I walked away. I was done.
Wow.
And to say that to a lot of people that might be viewing and listening, sometimes we stay in relationships because we fear that the other woman is going to get the best part of them.
Oh, that was something I had dealt with myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, so
when you put in so much time and energy into somebody and have invested into somebody and you're at a point where you're tired and you don't see what the growth you want to see. Mm-hmm. But it's like, okay, I done gave all this away. I give you up just for you to go to somebody else and do them better than, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what we think.
Yeah.
Because, see, the thing is, we're believing all the
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
We believe in all the bullshit that they feeding us, right? Because we think that all these promises that they making us is actually real. But if we look at reality, they ain't lived out none of it.
Right.
But we think that everything that they're saying, they're actually going to do with someone else. But that's bullshit. Stop eating the bullshit.
That's a fact.
Because listen, let me tell you, my kids are now in their 20s. And this is from a relationship that I ended before either one of them was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Their father was just arrested for beating someone that he's in a relationship
with.
And that's what, 20 years later?
Wow.
People don't change. Sometimes they make better choices, but people don't change. When somebody shows you who they are, you better believe that ass. I have grown to discover that if you're capable of doing something, it's in you to do it. You just got to be pushed the right way. You just got to be in the right circumstances. If it's not in you to do it, you would never do it, no matter how bad the circumstances got. I met this one man that I was friends with for years, completely platonic, never intimate. And he told me, if I ever call you out your name, you better run. He said, because I must be out of my mind. I have never called a woman out of her name, no matter how mad I got. And I'm telling you right now, I don't care what's going on, what I say, how you think you might be able to calm me down. If I cross that line, I've lost my mind and you should run.
Wow.
If it's not in you, it's not in you.
So you don't believe people can change? Somebody who might have been violent in the past could change? Like, I understand that it's in them, but do you think that they can turn from that way and be different?
I think that people can make different choices.
Mm.
I think that people can make different choices if they're motivated to make different choices. But it comes back down to, what are they motivated by? Okay. Because at the end of the day, they might have had a near-death experience.
Yeah.
They might have dealt with something very tragic. God might have broke them down to their core. And because of certain lessons that they've learned, they've decided to make certain choices. But let me use me as an example. I was a woman that was broken. I was a woman that was giving way too much for love.
Yeah.
Just trying to prove that I was worthy of the person to reciprocate the love that I was giving them. Have I changed?
You changed that aspect, I would say.
I would say I'm making wiser choices, because there's something in me that still wants to be loved like that.
So let me ask you this about you in particular, and then I want to piggyback back to the relationships, because you said that was 7 years and your kids were in their 20s. So I'm pretty sure there was probably another relationship after that. Mm-hmm. So in regards to you, where you talk about you still want to be loved in that way, are you saying, do you still feel deep down inside that you have to prove yourself in a way?
Absolutely not.
So go deeper into that, into what you mean.
So the difference for me is what I changed is how I make my choices.
Okay.
So my desires are who I am. That's what makes me happy. I don't have to change my desires. I just have to go about them in a healthy way. I have to gain them and obtain them in a way that doesn't get motivated by emotions, but intelligence.
Got you.
So now I set boundaries. Now I love myself first, because I started to teach myself what love really looked like. So then I know that when somebody comes in with that fake stuff, I'm not falling for it. I've been there, done that. Past, miss me. But what you can come with is what I've been looking for, and that's genuine love and loyalty and support and honor and respect.
How did you get to the point where, because in the past it sounded like, okay, you wanted to feel worthy of love, sound like you worked extra hard for love because that's how you felt you got love. How did you shift your mind to the place of where you're at now?
Going way too far, too many times. Sometimes when you give so much, you will hit rock bottom. And let me tell you, a year ago, I was in a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Because I gave too much in love. I gave monetarily, my body, my emotions, my home. I gave my children security. I was ashamed of how much I gave this man trying to maintain a relationship. When all the while I'm fighting so hard because he wasn't. You don't have to fight that hard when you're fighting together. One of the things that I had to realize is my fight was so tough because I was the only one swinging. Anything you got to chase is running away from you.
Yeah.
If it's not running away from you, you ain't got to chase it. You just got to accept it.
Right.
But when you're chasing, you got to stop and ask yourself, is it worth my chase? I'm not chasing my baby down the street. Listen, let me tell you, I don't run. If I'm running, y'all better run too. I'm telling you. You see me running, grab a weapon or run too. I try to put my baby in the stroller because I don't like to chase him when he tried to get away from me. I don't want to chase anymore. I want what wants me. And so what happened is I got to a point in my last relationship where I was completely depleted. And the problem is the last investment I made into the relationship, I invested for this man to start a business.
Okay.
I ain't gonna tell you how much I gave this man.
I think you told me privately, but we're not gonna discuss that.
I'll probably write it in one of my next sequels.
Okay.
But I gave this man my security.
Yeah.
And he walked away like he owned it and could take it with him wherever he went.
What?
And I was left, because the thing is, before I made the investment and he kept trying to convince me, I was like, don't do that. You would be dumb as hell if you gave this man this money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting in my car and this is the self-talk I'm having. So I knew better. Most of us, we know better.
Yeah, we all do.
So myself was telling myself, if you get this man this money, you deserve whatever happened. Like, I knew better. But he started telling me, that would just secure our trust and it would secure our family and we'll be able to do this and do that. And I wanted that so bad. I let my heart override my mind.
Yeah.
And I went against my own will because I knew it wasn't a good idea. And I did it anyway, just hoping for the best.
I feel that. I really do.
Just praying. And I even put it in a text message and writing, don't play me. Don't make me look like a fool out here. Baby, I would never do that to you. And so I gave it. And when I got to the point where he walked away and he definitely showed me, you made that decision.
Yeah, they'll do that.
He didn't care.
Yeah.
And when he walked away and he showed how much he didn't care, it was like the final straw for me. When I'm sitting in a shelter with my baby who's not even 1 year old, and I'm in a domestic violence shelter, I remember going in the bathrooms. It was a community bathroom. Mm-hmm. And it was like the bathrooms was like if you went into a public bathroom and they got stalls. And then on this side of the wall, they had like a couple stalls with bathtubs in there. Now, mind you, they're stalls, so it's open at the top and it's open at the bottom. Mm-hmm. I've been through all kind of abuse as a child and even as an adult. So the sexual abuse and things that I had endured still had me triggered and fearful.
Yeah.
And so as I'm bathing behind this stall with my baby, and this is a domestic violence shelter, so anybody can go there, male or female.
Wow.
A man walks in this bathroom.
What?
He didn't come in my stall. He didn't violate me. But imagine the fear I felt. And I'm in there bathing. If he wanted to, what would I do? What could I do? And I knew at that very moment, I will never put myself back in this situation again. If I love, it's going to be because I'm loved equally. And it was a decision I made. It wasn't that I gave up on love. I just gave up on fake love.
So moving forward, how do you decide what's real and what's fake now?
Because love is not envious. Love is not jealous. Love is patient.
Yeah.
Love is kind. Love always trusts. Love is supportive. It's not selfish. Like, just break down what love is. Does that person line up?
When you're dating, right? Mm-hmm. What differences would you say that you pick up on now versus back then? I'm assuming back then, like it sounded like you moved really fast.
Oh yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh yeah. And
okay.
that is lesson number one. Slow the hell down. If he really love you and it's really meant to be, you can't lose it.
Yeah.
Stop rushing.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, if you give this man 6 months to a year, you're going to see some real things about him that you don't like. And that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
Because you want to know if the things that you don't like are tolerable or non-negotiable. I set boundaries first. I had to discover what love was, so I didn't date for a while.
Got you.
I did not go out on any dates. I didn't entertain any man. I'm celibate still. I've not ventured out there like that. Let me just let that be known. I'm still kind of going through my process because I'm not easily trusting it at this point.
Yeah.
But what I did is I started to really experience what love was. And you can't make anybody love you. Sometimes I had to get to a point where I said, my mama don't love me. It's not that she don't want to, but I'm going to stop telling myself something is love when it doesn't look like love. Because what happens is we start saying, well, if I could call that love, then I can call this love too. And it ain't even love. So at the end of the day, some people know how to love and some people don't. You can't treat them different or feel any different about them because of their inability, but you could put them in the right category. And so I educated myself first on what love was.
Got you. So you said that your mama didn't love you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
That is very deep. Can you unpack that and just how that translated into just how you moved in a relationship?
Well, let me say this. I love my mother.
Yeah.
My mother is one of my biggest inspirations because of everything that she has gone through and struggled with and been able to persevere through. But when I say my mother didn't love me, what I mean is she didn't know what love was. My mother had so much loss and hurt and abuse and anger and insecurities that she had been holding on to that she couldn't properly give love. So what I call love, because that's what I was shown was love, I accepted as love, which only ended up hurting me. Because I can't accept that from a man. Because while my mom has my best interest at heart, even though she doesn't do everything right, at least she thinks she is or she's trying to. But if I accept that as love, then when a man comes in and gives me less, I'll accept that as love too.
Okay. Okay.
So I had to tell myself, I know my mother thinks she loves me, and I know she feels like she does. I know she would die for me. But that doesn't mean that she knows how to love me. That doesn't mean that she knows how to respect me. She knows how to be patient, that she knows how to be kind, that she's not going to be selfish and overbearing and you know what I mean? All those things that I didn't want in a relationship.
So how did that translate? Because like, okay, consciously, right? You had this, like you said, this kind of fantasy of what you wanted. Subconsciously, how your mother treated you, how did it make you move in relationships? What did you, all the things that you accepted, would you say was because of the things you dealt with your mom?
Yeah, so my mom and dad, being that they were high school sweethearts, I fantasized about their romance. Okay. You know what I mean? I wanted somebody that I can love from young, and we can grow up and we can get married and
I'm
things
wondering
like
if that's
that.
the thing, because I definitely wanted that too.
Right. And so, and because my parents, and not only my parents, my mom was one of 5 girls. My grandparents had 6 kids, and my mom was the second oldest. Well, 2 of my mom's sisters married 2 of my dad's friends from high school. So it was like all 3 of them married 3 friends.
Got you.
And so in my upbringing, it was like acceptable to expect that you could fall in love young and you guys can get married and be happy.
Yeah.
And not only that, when my father passed away, my mom got addicted to crack cocaine, and she was on crack cocaine for the majority of my childhood.
Wow.
And so what happened with my childhood is, even though my mom worked and she was a functional crack addict, it was a lot of situations where I had to be the mom. I had 2 younger brothers and sisters, so I was cooking, I was cleaning. I got good grades. I didn't want to disappoint her. I was the good girl. And so I thought that all of those qualities I would take into a relationship and a man would just love me. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I know how to cook. I know how to clean. I know how to take care of kids. I'm loyal. I'm nice. I'm smart. And so I thought that was a for sure guarantee that I was going to have the life and the relationships that I wanted. And so when I went into relationships, I gave these men all of these wifely goodies without any real commitment and expectations from them, because I thought those were what made me valuable.
Yeah. I think a lot of us think that, especially when we're younger, we don't know how to set boundaries. We don't know how to really put our expectations out there. And then with you being so young, having to play mother and all of that stuff, I think it's just all kind of.
I wasn't afraid to step into an adult role.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I've been doing this all my life.
Right.
My mom been working nights. I'm responsible for getting the kids in the bed, fed, house clean. Like, what didn't I do that I would have to do once I'm a woman in a man's life? I didn't fear growing up. That was my freedom from my mom's addiction. So to be honest with you, I got pregnant on purpose with my first at 16
Wow.
because that was my way out. I was like, well, if I get pregnant, I'll be considered an adult. And I wasn't promiscuous. I didn't want to sleep around. I just wanted some peace in my home. I wanted to be loved and I wanted some peace. I didn't want drugs. I didn't want that. I just
Wow.
wanted a family. And I was dating a 23-year-old man that made all the promises in the world. And yes, I was only 16.
Yeah.
And he was more mature than I was. I gave up my whole childhood to be his wife. And I have been married, but I ain't never been nobody's wife.
Wow.
I have not felt like I was in a marriage, although I've been married ever.
What do you think a marriage looks like, or what it should look like? Because people would still say that you were married. What should it look like? Like you said, you never felt like you were. No, you said you never felt like you were somebody's wife. Correct.
I never felt like I was in a marriage, even though
Okay.
I had the paper of saying I was married. So the difference to me is legally, you can go get married, but that doesn't mean you have a marriage. Are you partners?
Yeah.
All those things that you vowed, could they be counted on? Are you loyal to them? Or if you're put in the right circumstances, that real you gonna come out?
Gotcha.
Because a marriage, in my opinion, is lifelong. Lifelong putting that person first. Lifelong loving that person unconditionally. Lifelong having that person's best interests at heart, and vice versa. It's not abuse. It's not take.
Right.
It's not about how much money you got or can we look like that relationship goal couple. It's not about an image. It's about what happens at home every day. How do you guys function together? How do you work together? Do you bring out the best in each other?
Yeah.
Do you help each other pursue each other's purposes and why you were here? Because I don't want to just have a legal binding commitment to you. I want to be the best thing for you.
Right.
And I want you to be the best thing for me. And that's hard to find. And that's why you can't rush into something that's that impactful to your life. It could ruin your life if you partner up with the wrong person.
Definitely can. So this alludes to my next question. So you were with your second relationship for 7 whole years until you got to kind of a breaking point. But it sounds like you got into, was it maybe one more or two? What would you say?
Girl, let me tell you this.
Okay.
This book here only goes up to age 25.
Wow.
I will be 45 this year. And I just said last year,
Yeah.
I was in a homeless shelter. But let me tell you the difference of the lessons that I learned from those relationships, because you learn along the way.
You do.
And that's the thing. People feel like, well, you should have known better because of the past relationships you've been in. Well, my problem was every relationship I got in, I wanted it to be different than the last one.
And that's all you focused on?
I wanted the opposite of the things that I couldn't tolerate in this relationship. So in my first relationship, he was a bum. He didn't go out and get no job. He was just po. Let me po. Pitiful and po. I paid all the bills. I took care of everything. He didn't have no backbone. He couldn't lead me. Listen, his auntie stole money out of my purse and he didn't even want to confront her. He said, just don't say nothing.
What? Oh, that would have been a deal breaker for me.
No punk laying up next to me. The jellyback brother. Come on now.
Yeah,
You got to make me feel safe. I was more protecting us than you. You weren't paying the bills. You couldn't protect me from harm. You were so non-confrontational. If somebody wanted to violate us, I felt like they would just come in and violate us. So when I got with my second baby daddy, the one that ended up whooping my behind for years,
Yeah.
I wanted somebody that was strong and protective.
Let me ask you, wanted somebody that was strong and protective. Now that you're at this age, what red flags did you kind of disregard?
He was controlling.
And did you confuse that with being strong?
Yes. And protective. I thought when he wanted to know everywhere I went, it's because he just wanted to make sure I was safe. Bullshit. I call bullshit now.
Yeah.
I call bullshit because there's a difference in saying, hey, let me know when you're safe and let me know where you at, where you going, what you doing. Who you talking
Yeah.
to? That's different than, are you safe? Do you need anything?
Right.
It's a whole different approach. I didn't know that when I was that young.
Yeah.
So then I get out of that relationship. The next relationship I get into, chemistry on fire. This man would never disrespect me, would never hit me. I thought he was the one.
Yeah.
He was married.
How long you was with him? Oh, give me a time frame. If
Girl,
it's in,
off and on for 4 years.
oh my God, was it super hard to let go once you found out he was married, or
Yes and no.
okay?
And let me tell you why. Because keep in mind, I hadn't cleansed myself and detoxed from all the brainwashing from the church. So I know right from wrong. And my conscience weighed on me. Like, there's just certain things you don't do.
Right.
And so I connected with this man off and on for 4 years. And he was a traveler for work.
Okay.
I don't want to give his
So
occupation.
you still smiling for the charisma? I'm sorry. Okay.
He traveled for work, so
Okay.
it was easy for him to tell his wife, "I got to go to work. This, that, and that." So he would be with me on the holidays. We would be all out in public, like we would be everywhere. I had no clue. Not only did I not have a clue this man was married, this man had been lying to me about his name for 4 years. So he came to my grandparents' home and asked my grandfather for my hand in marriage. And the next day I did a background check on him. First, by starting with a reverse directory on his phone number. Peep gang.
Peep gang. I did that too.
Peep
What
gang.
I did that too. What made you want to do the background?
Because he asked my grandfather for my hand in marriage.
But sometimes that would just trigger.
That's why we had been off and on for 4 years.
Okay.
Because there were certain feelings that I got. And I couldn't put my finger on it. But sometimes I just did, my intuition was just like, fuck that,
Yeah.
And I would leave him alone.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't find nothing. I didn't run the background check yet. I just thought something was going to come out,
Yeah.
What's in the dark going to come out in the light. And we would have these periods where it was just like, I just ain't feeling it right now. I need some space.
Yeah.
I didn't know why I needed space. But I just kept feeling like something ain't right. And I don't really know what the triggers were. Because just like his wife, I could believe that, when you turn your phone off when you go home, that you was just sleeping because you had a long night at work. But it was moments like that and little things that would happen to be like, this, I better check on him. I better see if this brother telling the real truth. Because, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like he might be telling me the truth, but I don't have that peace. So my grandfather meant everything to me.
Yeah.
And I did not ever introduce him to my family. And so one time we reconnected. It had been a while. I think it had almost probably been like 6 months to a year that I had seen him.
Yeah.
And when we reconnected, he was so excited. He wanted to come take me out on a date, and he had his coworker with him. So we agreed to go on a double date. Yeah. And he came to my grandparents' home to get me like it was a real date.
Oh.
And he came in, he spoke to my grandparents, and my grandpa was sitting right there in his wheelchair just waiting to see this brother that's coming to get his granddaughter. And he told him what he did for a living, this, that, and that. And then he said, I want to marry your granddaughter one day.
Wow.
And I'm standing there because I didn't expect that. But that was enough for me. Like, you don't play with my grandfather. How serious are you? I've allowed you to play with me a little bit, but don't come in my grandparents' home and play with my grandfather. And so that triggered me to the point that I wanted to see if he was playing with my family. Because you're not going to play with my family. And so that night, we had a great night. We had a ball.
Yeah.
That morning, I'm like, let's see how much of a ball this is.
Yeah.
And when I started pulling back them layers, brother, that ain't even your name. Wow. And so when he called me the next day, all excited about the night before, I called him by his real name.
Ooh.
And he just got silent. And I was like, you live at this address? This is your wife? This is how much I pay for y'all home? This is ... Her relatives are... Wow. He was like, how did you? The excuses don't even matter. But after that, he gave me the excuse of, I didn't expect to fall in love with you. I thought I was going to run into a beautiful woman and spend a little time with her. Things didn't happen the way that I thought. It wasn't no old one night stand kind of thing. And I ended up falling in love with you. And since I introduced myself as this person, I had to keep going with the lie.
But it was still a lie.
But it was still a lie. And so he wanted me to forgive him. And I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I can't even lie. I talked to him a few times after that, but my spirit would not let me stay involved with him.
Yeah, because this is kind of like you lied about all of that stuff. Who are you really?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I could have definitely accepted that, you were caught off guard by how wonderful I was and you didn't expect to fall in love with me. But at the end of the day, it's been 4 years. We've had a lot of deep conversations in this 4 years.
Yeah.
If you love me like you say you did, because now we're back to what is love, you would have been able to trust me enough to tell me the truth.
Right. Wow.
You would have loved me enough to let me make an informed decision that was in my best interest, instead of manipulating me to accept what was in your best interest.
That part. So from that 4-year relationship, when you moved on to the next one,
I was single for 5 years.
Got you. You were single for 5 years.
5 years. And I thought, well, I've proven to myself that I don't need a man in my life. So now maybe it's time to start dating.
What did you look for after the 5-year break from that?
I looked for a man that was going to pursue me, that I didn't have to chase.
Okay.
So I'm growing, but I ain't where I need to be yet.
Gotcha.
So I'm learning from the abuse. I'm not tolerating any abuse. I want to know if you're married. I want to be able to call you all time, day and night. I don't want to hear nothing.
Right.
I want to hear you waking up in the morning saying, yeah, I know, but it's 3 a.m. I just wanted to say, hey. Good night, go back to sleep.
Yeah, right.
Not because I would, but I want to be able to.
Right.
But at the end of the day, so what happened is when I started going back into another relationship, by this time, online dating started to really be popular. Back in the day of MySpace and Black Planet.
Yeah.
And, So I met this guy in an online dating. He was older. I was 30. He was 46. And he fed me all the, girl, I done been there and done that. I'm ready to settle down. I want to be with one woman. You've been playing with boys. Let me show you how a man knows how to treat a woman. That stuff that sound good.
Good.
Girl, I was with this man, got a 14-year-old by him. I was with this man. And not 6 months out of all the years I spent with him did I not catch him with another woman.
Oh, my God.
And I was going to leave him the first time I caught him. But see, that's what happens when you move too fast. It was all good when he was living in one city and I'm living in another city. And I'm like, this man going to pursue me. I'm not driving to his city to go see him. He going to have to come see me. Girl, I put down all these expectations and he met them all.
Yeah.
And then when I finally went to his home, first off, when I finally went to his home, it was because we had gotten so close with him coming and putting in all this effort. See, when somebody coming to visit you, they bring whatever baggage they want to bring. You don't see all their baggage that they keep at home hidden in the closet back behind the coats and stuff like that. All the stuff that they got in their house, you don't see that stuff. They only bring in the representative that they want to show up for this visit.
Right.
And so I only saw a representative of him.
How long did you make him, quote unquote, work? Like coming to see you?
Like 4 months.
Okay.
About 4 months, and we was ready to be a couple by then. Yeah. Well, we was ready to move in together by then. Like, he putting forth all this effort. He dining and whining, and he cute and all this and that, and he coming to see me, ain't asking me for nothing.
Yeah.
And then I got a job offer in the city that he lived in. And he said, just come and consider. Like, and it made more money than I had ever made.
Yeah.
So I rode back with him one day after a visit. He said, just come back with me and I'll put you on a plane to get back home after your interview tomorrow.
Oh,
I
wow.
said, okay. Well, when I went on my interview, they hired me on the spot. And I didn't have no place to live out there. So guess what I did? I moved me and my kids in with him. Why I do that? Why I do that? Because I was so in love. I was so in emotion is what I was. I thought this man was the best thing since sliced bread. But what
Yeah.
happened is every time I would go home to visit my family, which was a few hours away, he'd have another woman in the house.
Wow. What red flags do you think you missed? Because some people would think that you did the right things by making him put in all of the effort and all of that stuff. Do you think you could have dated somebody closer? Like,
I would say the distance doesn't matter.
okay.
It is how much effort you put into really getting to know that person before you get overly emotional. Because sometimes we see the wedding dress and the wedding and the house with the white picket fence before we even know whether or not this man wipe his behind good, or if he got a steady job, or if he's nice to his kids, or
Got you. So would you say in that situation it was like surface level to a certain
I would
extent?
say that I let him woo me.
Okay.
Get out of the woo phase. Get out of the dating phase and start really seeing what somebody's like, because everybody gonna show you a good time when they taking you out on a date.
How do you cut through the representative?
Stop dating for the enjoyment of the date. Start dating to get to know each other. I don't want you to take me to a movie. I can't talk to you in no movie. I can't ask you no questions in no movie.
Yeah.
I don't want you to take me to no loud concert. I don't want you to take me to no big fancy restaurant just so that you can flaunt your money. How about we just go get some ice cream and walk in the park? How about you invite me over to your home so I can see how you keep your home, and maybe we can just have breakfast or lunch, not dinner in your home, so you can try
Yeah.
to pull off my panties, because I knew I wore granny panties so that I wouldn't let you pull them off. I'm just saying, you got to take the precautions. You got to
Yeah.
do that when you're
Yeah.
dating, because what happens is once the legs spread, your heart opens
True for a lot of women.
for a
Yeah.
lot of women.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the type of person that can have unattached sex.
Got you.
I'm the person that once I give my body to you, I give everything to you. And that's what got me in so much trouble, because I wasn't the type of person to sleep around. So I didn't want to have a one night stand. I didn't
Yeah.
want to sleep with somebody and not have them come back to me the next day. So what did I do? The minute you sleep with somebody, you're trying to make sure that they keep coming, that you keep giving them a reason to love you still. You got the
Right.
goods. So now what can I use to keep them here?
Right.
But what I should have done in that relationship was been more patient, less emotional, and seen his real life. Let me see where you work. Let me bring you lunch. Let me come meet you at lunch. Let me meet you at the park. Let me, after we, get to know that we are at least on the same page. What are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you do? Don't just have money.
Yeah.
And I don't care where you get that money from. What do you do? And it's not because I need you to take care of me. It's because I need you to protect me.
Right.
And if your lifestyle isn't conducive to where I'm going, it's going to be a distraction or a hazard.
Got you.
And so sometimes we accept people with good qualities even though they're not a good fit.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
And sometimes we be like, but he have more better qualities than anybody else I done met. If I let him go, how I know I'm going to find somebody better? Because you don't have to settle for what's for you. And I didn't ever get to know what I liked. I was so busy trying to be what they liked.
Yeah.
So that they wouldn't leave me, because all the abandonment issues and things like that. When you stop fantasizing about how the relationship is supposed to end in regards to, we're going to end up married. We're going to end up with kids. We're going to end up this and this. Start with how you begin.
Yeah.
What is the foundation? Because without that foundation, you really don't have nothing but a fantasy.
Got you.
And so I built a fantasy around everything he was telling me and all the glitz and glamour that he was showing me. But his real life was raggedy as hell. And I meant that.
Yeah.
Because when I moved in, I found out that he lived in East LA
Is that
in
like?
a shack.
Oh wow.
When I tell you, girl, it was like this much space underneath the door. We had all kind of mice and bugs and stuff running all in and out of the house. It was a mess. He lived in the ghetto. I gave up my nice home because I thought this man had it all laid out the way he was spending money on me on dates and stuff.
Where the money come from? Or was he just good with managing money and maybe he
He
lived in a
was
shack?
able to spend money elsewhere because he lived that frugally.
Got you. Got you. So his lifestyle just first of all wasn't matched with yours at all.
At all.
And that's something you did not find out.
I did not find out until the day I went to my interview and they hired me on the spot and he said, move in today. And when we went back to his house, I'm like,
how did y'all work? Did y'all ever work through that? Because y'all were together. You said you had 14-year-old. Were y'all together almost the whole time?
no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. So we stayed together. So what ended up happening is this man really didn't even have a real good job.
Oh, wow.
I ended up making more than him.
Okay.
I got us out of that shack. I put us into a nice house in a better neighborhood in Los Angeles because I cared about where my kids went to school. I cared how my kids lived. And you was a bachelor in your home. So you didn't care about stuff like that. And so I worked 2 jobs for 2 years through his cheating and everything because, you know, people in the church were saying, you know, a man just doesn't feel like himself when he ain't able to provide for his family. So he makes bad decisions and this and that. And once he graduated and he get a good job, he going to do better, blah, 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 blah. I worked my butt off for 2 jobs for 2 years to put this man through school. And a week after he graduated and got a job for a very, very big company, he was like, I don't want to be in a relationship.
How did you take that?
I left his ass. I was hurt.
Yeah.
I was devastated. We had moved to Seattle, Washington. I had left everything once again, my home, my job, my everything. Sold all my furniture, relocated because he got a good job. And the agreement was that now that he has a good job, I would be able to go back to school and pursue my dreams. But that didn't happen. And I ended up having to come back with my children, starting over with no job, no home, living with family. And he's out here with this money now showing all the women that he's this boss man.
Wow.
He's the man with the job. He's the man that can buy you all the same things that he was doing to woo me.
Yeah.
Now he has more resources to do with you. I was devastated. I was hurt. I think my daughter at the time might have been 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, once again, I went through all this and that just for you to use me for your benefit and then walk away. So after that relationship, I focused on myself.
Okay.
I started to really realize what my purpose was. And along the way, I stopped believing in a lot of the religious things that I feel had me so brainwashed and making me feel like I had to stay, or I was going to be judged, or I didn't have faith in God if I didn't expect him or trust him to work out my marriage or things like that. Like, I started to break them cycles.
Yeah.
I started to be like, I don't think God wants this for me.
Right.
I don't think this is what God wants for me. And so, but God also doesn't want me to be careless with my heart. And he doesn't want me to jump into relationships that are not good for my purpose and what he created me to come here and do.
Yeah.
And so I had to first start to realize, what do I need to do with me? What do I want to accomplish in life? Why was I created? And so, like I said, with every relationship, I learned a little more and a little more and a little more. And with my final relationship, he was successful. He was handsome. He was business minded. Like, he was an entrepreneur. He didn't have to work for anybody else. And he had this vision of being able to promote my business and me being able to promote his business. And we would bounce ideas off of each other. And I really thought we were going to be that power couple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But He was a little bit younger than me, and what he ended up saying was, I didn't fit his image. With everything that we could have accomplished and as good as we were together, he was used to getting nice thin girls that probably didn't have kids and had never been married before, and being open and public with his affection and a relationship with me wouldn't have been good for his image.
Wow.
And I accepted that for a while, because I mean, if you're dating a celebrity, a lot of times you hear you got to keep it a secret, you know, this, that, and that. But when it came down to me getting pregnant and him not even wanting to publicly acknowledge my baby, the pregnancy, anything, even after the baby was born, my baby didn't get posted. My maternity pictures didn't get posted. It was like I was just a secret. I was a nobody. And I still held on because I thought nobody knows our relationship like I do. Because in private, this is what he shows me. He doesn't have to be public. In private, he shows me he's all into me and he's willing to do all this and that for me. I was lying to myself. I was growing and I knew what I wanted. And as long as he pretended to give me that in private, I didn't expect him to give it to me in public.
Why do you think you accepted that?
Because I finally had the majority of what I wanted in a relationship. The affection, the attraction, the stability financially, the ability to talk about anything. But when it really came down to it, outside of him saying that I did not fit his image, what it really was is, when you're dealing with a narcissist or someone that's insecure, their image is everything.
Yeah.
And whenever they feel like they're going to get judged for decisions that they might make, they are not going to publicize those decisions. They're not going to support those decisions publicly. So even though he felt like he loved me privately, his insecurities wouldn't allow him to trust me enough to want to blast to the world, I love this woman and I trust her and I'm building a family with her. Because he would tell me all the time, I don't know if you might hurt me down the line. And I don't want that embarrassment. I'm not public with women because if you don't end up being the woman you say you are, I'm going to end up humiliated and embarrassed. And I'm not willing to take that chance. And so he constantly accused me of cheating and doing things. And I never cheated on this man.
Do you think he was doing that to just kind of keep you at bay in a way of staying private, or maybe, keep you at bay also? Was he doing those things?
Honestly, I can say that he was too arrogant to possibly go all the way with a woman. He was the type of person that he didn't feel like you had the right to touch his body. He was that arrogant and narcissistic. Wow. So if he didn't cheat, it wasn't because he wasn't attracted or had the temptation. It was because he was that arrogant and prideful.
Wow.
But I don't think it was because he wanted the freedom to cheat, but he wanted the admiration from everyone, including women. So even though a man may not bite, sometimes he will never stop barking because he needs that validation. And so he wanted those women to stay in his inbox. He needed those fans to validate him and make him feel like he was the man. Even though I was doing everything I could to stroke his ego, it was not enough because his insecurities were so bad that my validation was not enough. Because if he lost the respect and the admiration of everybody else, including his friends, he wanted everybody to admire him.
Yeah.
His family, his friends, his co-workers. He wanted to be top dog everywhere he went. And so if he had posted me, and anybody would have been like, you with that woman? She been married and divorced a couple times and she got kids. And he wouldn't have known how to deal with that type of scrutiny. And in my opinion, I started to feel like that was a weakness, that was a turnoff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I want a man that's strong enough to stand on his own decisions.
Right. So that's something you had to learn, and probably a red flag you didn't catch. Think about all of your relationships collectively from the past. What red flags do you think you kind of just did not pay attention to because you were chasing that kind of that imaginary relationship to the red flags that you look out for now?
The first thing that I tell everybody that I talk to, all of the clients that I coach, when I'm talking on my podcast, in my book, public speaking, is the first red flag that you will always be able to spot in a relationship within the first 2 to 4 weeks. You ain't even got to waste your time and fall in love. Don't pull your panties down before then.
Okay.
Inconsistency.
Okay.
It starts with inconsistency and it grows from there. Because first they're inconsistent, then they start lying to you about why they're inconsistent. And if you keep pushing, then they start being distant.
What is I think consistency is different for everybody.
Consistency is whatever you told me I can depend on. Whatever you presented as your original character, continue to do that consistently.
Gotcha.
If that's who you are, you're not going to switch up in a week.
That's a fact.
If that's who you are, if you're the type of person that's going to answer all of my calls, and then all of a sudden the holiday come around and you didn't answer my calls, or the weekend came and you couldn't answer my call, or let's just say you're not the type of person that drinks or goes out a lot, but then one night you said, I went out, I was drinking, and I fell asleep at my boy's house. I mean, any inconsistencies really, because to me, that's how picky I've become.
Got you.
Anytime you tell me something, I want to be able to bet on it.
Got you. Okay, so it sounds like in the past you didn't set expectations either. So now you're setting expectations, and what a person tells you, that's what you're expecting them to meet you.
Yes. And I'm going to be my genuine self. And that, to me, is what really has weeded out a lot of people.
Okay. What would you say your genuine self is compared to the self that you presented in the past?
The self I presented in the past was a reflection of what I thought you wanted me to be. Just as long as I was appealing to you. I wasn't doing anything that came natural to me. I would put things that I wanted to do on the back burner. What movie do you want to watch? Well, what movie do you want to watch? What do you want to eat? Whatever you want to eat, babe. Now it's like, well, I want to do this. I know what I want.
Yeah.
I know what I like. I know where I want to go. And I know what conversations I want to have. If a person gets on the phone with me now and they want to try to date me and they immediately start talking about physical stuff and sex and intimacy, I block them. Straight up.
Yeah.
If somebody starts talking to me, I had this one gentleman that tried to talk to me, and this was years ago. And I knew where I was going.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to reach a lot of people with my story. I felt like I didn't go through everything I went through for nothing. And he had his job for like the last 15 years. And he worked doing like head of maintenance or janitorial, whatever. And he had an apartment. And he was secure.
Yeah.
I didn't want him. Your dreams ain't big enough for me. You're not as ambitious as I am. I don't want the same lifestyle you want. I wouldn't be content like this for 15 years.
That's good that you know that for yourself. Because I know some women, maybe they know that, but then you'll have other people making them feel bad for knowing that and not wanting to even just give that an opportunity. Do you feel like women miss out, though, sometimes?
I can't miss out. See, that's the thing. You can't miss out on what's really meant to be for you.
Got you.
When you are in tune with you, what you need, what you love, what you like, what you don't like, your negotiables and your non-negotiables. I sat down and I actually wrote it down.
Got you.
I am not going to tolerate this. I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm not going to tolerate any disrespect. I'm not going to tolerate any inconsistencies. If something happens and you got to change a plan, or something you told me, I expect a conversation or an explanation. I expect you to respect that I expect you to be a man of your word.
Absolutely.
And so I just feel like the difference is it's like I know me now.
Yeah.
And when you learn yourself and you start to love yourself, it's just like if you meet a man and girl, he come in there and he show you what ain't no other man ever showed you before. He treats you like a queen. This man does everything for you. If that man were to tragically get taken away from you, could you go back to somebody that treats you less than?
It would be very hard.
So when you start treating yourself like that, it's really hard to let somebody else come in and treat me less than I treat myself.
What tips would you give to somebody to treat themselves better so they can date better?
Let's start with the basics. Number
Okay.
1, are you getting adequate sleep?
Mm.
Are you drinking enough water? Is your home clean and your clutter being taken care of? Are you living in a home that you can't feel comfortable in because it's not clean, you're not organized, you're not bathing every day? Those are signs of depression.
Okay.
You're not, and it attracts negative energy and spirits, in my opinion.
Okay.
But when you're not doing those basic things first, you're not feeling the best about yourself. When you're not feeling the best about yourself, you're not going to do the best for yourself.
Okay.
And so, first off, taking care of your basic needs. Am I eating healthy? Am I feeling good about the choices I'm making for me?
Okay.
And then once I start feeling good about the choices I'm making for me, pay attention to what you like. What makes you smile? What makes you feel like I had a good day?
Yeah.
I feel good today. I feel beautiful today. Not about what somebody told you or so and so gave me a compliment or I got a
Right.
call. What could you do in the presence of nobody but you that brings a smile to your face?
Got you.
Start doing more of those things. Start recognizing. Like when a song comes on now and I start dancing, see, there's other songs that come on and you be in a groove, but
Yeah.
then there's other songs that come on that just get you happy and
Yeah.
hype. I write those songs down.
Got you. Okay.
I really start being conscious about what makes me feel good and what makes me not feel good. And then I take control of my thoughts. I'm not going to sit here and dwell in an energy that makes me feel bad and worse. I start taking care of my mental, my emotional, my physical, my finances. Because when your basic needs ain't taken care of, you stressed. And
Right.
when you stressed, you're going to make bad decisions.
That's true.
So
That's
I
true.
would say loving yourself means doing those things for yourself that makes you happy deep down inside, even if nobody else gave you a compliment or validated you or even noticed.
Okay.
What would make you smile if nobody else noticed?
Got you. Okay. Now let me ask you about The House Without Doors. What do you think readers would get out of your book?
Perseverance, inspiration. I believe that my book goes into a lot of relatable stories. I have met a lot of people that have had tragic stories in their life. And oftentimes I have heard people tell me, I've met people that have been through probably everything that you've been through, but I've not met one person that's been through everything that you've been through.
Yeah.
And going through everything that I've gone through, just being me.
Yeah.
Just being one person is not like, oh, I had this in my family and I had that in my family. No, this happened to me.
Yeah.
With everything that I've gone through, if I can feel like I want to put on a smile every day, I want to be the example of love. I'm not going to be bitter. I'm not going to be resentful, vindictive, angry. I don't have no hate against men. I have forgiven a lot of the people that have abused me.
Yeah.
And it's a different kind of freedom. And when you show people that instead of just talk about it,
Yeah.
it gives them something to believe in for their own lives. And that's what I think my readers get out of my book.
That's awesome. I want to touch a little bit into Uvelopment LLC. Tell us a little bit more in depth about that and how that came about.
So, Uvelopment is a business corporation that I started because I wanted to be able to give more back to my community. And I needed a business to be able to promote and do that with, get funding for. Right now, I am working to open up a teen pregnancy home
Okay.
where I am working with psychiatrists and therapists and counselors and people with resources all over the board that are needed to help give that teen mother the best step that she can before we send them out in the world to raise our next generation. I want to teach them about conflict resolution, how to love yourself. I want them to have programs that they have to complete going through our home where they are learning how to take care of their children. They have a support group because these women or these young ladies will be living together and supporting each other and talking about some of the same things that they're all going through. I want them to learn what love looks like so that when they're out there, they don't feel like they have to accept a bad relationship just to feel like they have somebody. I want them to avoid the stumbling blocks that I didn't avoid.
Got you. That is so awesome. Let me ask you this. A tip for people who are just out here dating and trying to figure it out. What tip would you give?
Be patient. But first off, if you are not secure in yourself, if you don't know what love really looks like, it starts there. You have to be able to find what love looks like. Then you have to ask yourself, am I giving it to myself? Do I have boundaries and standards that I am not willing to compromise on because that's how I love me? Once you can honestly feel secure enough in yourself to walk away from anybody, no matter what their qualities are, if they're not loving you the way you want to be loved, or if they don't fit in the lifestyle that you're pursuing, if you guys aren't working towards the same things, when you are confident enough to walk away from anybody, then you're ready to start dating. But if you start dating before you even get to that point, you're setting yourself up for failure. And then once you start dating, go slow. Be honest. Have expectations. Express those expectations. And when somebody violates you the first time, walk away.
Got you. All right. Now, where can the audience find you?
I am on TikTok. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. Author Danelle Wright. That is DANELLEWRIGHT. And you can find me whether or not you on TikTok and you like more videos. I post videos there. My website is also available if you're interested in staying connected with me for my book tour that's coming up, speaking engagements, other events that I will be appearing on. We're on YouTube with Concrete Reality TV. I also have my YouTube page where I post a lot of my videos on there as well. But you can find me anywhere. Just look up author Danelle Wright, Uvelopment LLC, or The House Without Doors. But I do want to give a shout out to Darren Henson.
Okay.
I know you guys know who he is. This is his shirt. I love it. It says, "Go through it, grow through it, flow through it." And I wore this especially because this is the message that I feel like I want to give to everyone else. Even though you're going through it, you just grow through it and then you can flow through it.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to have all of those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for making the time to come
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and until next time.